the crown? Where's the crown? LifeLiberty with a musty beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. LifeLiberty with a musky beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Self-righteous here to tell the world's gone straight to, well, got no love for ATF, says liberals, they're a mess. LifeLiberty, he's so proud, living off the grid, not with the crowd. Shaking fists at big city's mess, his ways the only, nothing less. Solar panels on the roof, solar panels on the roof. No one tells him what's the truth. Buys his goods from local folks, hates the government side pokes. Plants the seeds the garden grows, hates the talk of those he opposes. Got his place, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. LifeLiberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. Got his kingdom, where's the crown? His goods from local folks, hates the government's like pokes. Plants the seeds the garden grows, hates the talk of those he opposes. Got his place, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. LifeLiberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. Got his kingdom, where's the crown? LifeLiberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. Got his kingdom, where's the crown? Where's the crown? LifeLiberty with a musty beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. LifeLiberty with a musky beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Self-righteous here to tell the world's gone straight to, well, got no love for ATF, says liberals, they're a mess. LifeLiberty, he's so proud, living off the grid, not with the crowd. Shaking fists at big city's mess, his ways the only, nothing less. Solar panels on the roof, solar panels on the roof. No one tells him what's the truth. Buys his goods from local folks, hates the government side pokes. Plants the seeds the garden grows, hates the talk of those he opposes. Got his place, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. LifeLiberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. Got his kingdom, where's the crown? the government's like oaks. Plants the seeds, the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. God has placed his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. LifeLiberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God his kingdom, where's the crown? LifeLiberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God his kingdom, where's the crown? Where's the crown? LifeLiberty with a musty beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. LifeLiberty with a musty beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Self-righteous here to tell the world's gone straight through. Well, got no love for ATF, says liberals, they're a mess. LifeLiberty, he's so proud, living off the grid, not with the crowd. Shaking fists at big city's mess. His way's the only, nothing less. Solar panels on the roof. Solar panels on the roof. No one tells him what's the truth. Buys his goods from local folk. Hates the government's like hoax. Plants the seeds, the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. God has placed his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. LifeLiberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God his kingdom, where's the crown? Buys his goods from local folks. Hates the government's like oaks. Plants the seeds, the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. God has placed his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. LifeLiberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God his kingdom, where's the crown? LifeLiberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, won't bow down. God his kingdom, where's the crown? Where's the crown? LifeLiberty with a musty beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. LifeLiberty with a musty beard, preaching loud for all to hear. Self-sustained, don't live in fear. He ain't buying what they steer. Self-righteous here to tell the world's gone straight to, well, got no love for ATF, says liberals, they're a mess. LifeLiberty, he's so proud, living off the grid, not with the crowd. Shaking fists at big city's mess. His way's the only, nothing less. Solar panels on the roof. Solar panels on the roof. No one tells him what's the truth. Buys his goods from local folk. Hates the government's like hoax. Plants the seeds the garden grows. Hates the talk of those he opposes. Got his place, his peace of mind. Voices loud, the blind lead the blind. Life, liberty, he's so clear. He's the echo we all hear. Takes a stand, down. Got his kingdom, wears the crown.
Happened. My podcast studio flooded. We get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
I felt like doing a bunch of LSD and fucking, a bunch of edibles, but Alvin takes care of that really good.
He does
at
enough
the,
for
at,
both of us.
right, exactly. So yeah, great intro there. The Freedom Convoy, and I was not an organizer of the Freedom Convoy. A lot of people think I was. How I got involved and active with the Freedom Convoy is years previous to that. I've been a large political content creator, right, over apps like TikTok and before I lost my Facebook and all that other stuff, and my Twitter as well. And I've always been pro Alberta, pro Western Canada because we are the Texas of Canada. So pro freedom, pro Christian values, pro lower taxation, and we hate fascism, right? So when COVID happened and they were locking everything down, and then they told truck drivers, "Fuck you, you can't go." They're not jet often for me, right? And me, I'm not a truck driver, but I do have a truck driver license, and I employ truck drivers. So at the end of the day, truck driving is a need for every single country, and those people keep the country running. And that was it for me. So when I heard that there was a Freedom Convoy, I got very active in the movement. I supported it financially, which got my bank account shut down. I supported the truckers when they went to Ottawa. I was selling hats, and then the proceeds of those hats, I was buying field cards with it. And I was actually, labeled a domestic terrorist because of it by my own government. And I was very active on TikTok. I was, streaming my whole time I was there, anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 people in my lives at one time. And I was just telling people the truth of what was going on. It wasn't about, these truck drivers wanted to, infect your family with COVID and they didn't give a fuck about you. It was these truck drivers and other people, military personnel, government personnel, police, fire, whatever it might be, that were being mandated a vaccine in their body or lose their job. They didn't want to hurt anybody. They just didn't want to put something in their body. And the government said, nope, you're losing your job anyway. And that was a nail in the coffin. Fuck you. It ain't happening. And I covered that the best I could. And at the end of the day, here we are, like years later. Freedom Convoy definitely made me more famous, I believe, on the internet. And it made me more loud and obnoxious. But that's how you got to deal when you're dealing with these left fucks.
Yeah, that's so I think that during that it actually made some of the people that were just kind of online talking about politics, it kind of blew them up. We actually met you and have started talking to you over on Clapper, but and that's how we became friends. We disagree on some things, we agree. All of us met you trying to point the right direction, but it's kind of confusing over here.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy though, right? Something that was so hated by the left. And I don't think it was hated because, we went against the government. I think what they really hate is the fact that it built community and it brought people from nations together, right? From Europe to Canada to the United States, Australia. The Freedom Convoy ignited convoys in other countries like Germany, Italy, Australia, like even in the U.S. convoy, right?
Yeah.
It started something, and for me to be part of something like that is huge. Is huge. I didn't do it for fame. I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it for anything other than to show my kids that their dad will not be on his knees. Their dad will stand for something. And through that, I've encouraged other people to do the exact same thing, and I've met amazing people like both of you.
Hey, don't talk so good about us.
You getting tingly?
Yeah.
You getting tingly?
But no, you're absolutely right, and I do believe that the Freedom Convoy was a small snippet of the people that actually care, that want to make change. But how far are they willing to go? Driving a truck and pouring shit on the Capitol building or on the steps like they did in France, is that really enough? I don't think it's enough. And we've actually had this discussion before that, yeah, there's a lot of people during the convoy that did a lot of things, but whenever it comes down to brass tacks, we're not going to change anything. And the only way to change anything is with a revolution, and a revolution will never happen. At least not in our lifetime.
No, and you hit the nail on the head. And I know a lot of your listeners out there are going to fucking hate this, and I don't care. But, you guys all got to remember, I live in Canada. Canada is a full socialist country. We are full-blown socialism. In order to put communism in place, you have to have socialism. And that's what they're pushing for right now, right? We have guaranteed basic income on the docket right now. What guaranteed basic income is every man, woman, and child in this country is going to get money from the government. Well, that equals the playing field, right? So you no longer have to go out there and work hard for anything. You basically the government takes care of you. So full-blown socialism, who's paying for that? Well, people like me in the middle class, people like you guys, if it happens in your country. So when I look at Americans, and I warn Americans on the daily, and you guys have seen this firsthand, I say this shit is coming to your country. And the first thing that I get in response is, there's a gun behind every blade of grass. Well, I thought when they were going to rip the fucking parts off of kids, or when I on my show, I went there and I I interviewed a guy named Adam Vina. Go look him up. I encourage your viewers to look him up. His son was taken from him, and his mother, a piece of shit, literally changed his gender, and the state of California mandated it that Adam, in order to have parental rights, had to look at his son and call him a daughter.
Yes.
I thought that would be so when I get the blade of grass argument, right?
Yeah.
I get the blade of grass. I'm like, you guys might have firearms, but you do fuck all with them. You do nothing.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because we say that the Second Amendment is the only thing that is protecting us right now. When you put it that way, it's really not. It's just a couple of fucking words on a piece of paper. And if the population or the populace doesn't have the balls to stand up and actually fight with that Second Amendment, then it'll never happen, and the Second Amendment is worthless. But it goes down to even more than that, Berta. It's not just that they don't want to fight. I think there's a lot of people that want to fight, but the system that has been created and the dependence on working every single day to pay for the things that we've been told that are needed is why people won't fight. Because I've said it before, I don't have the ability to walk away from my family. If I was to go and walk away from my family and go to a fight, my family would die.
Yep.
They would become homeless. They wouldn't have food, right? So it's the thought of leaving your family to sit and rot is too hard for a lot of people. There's a lot of patriotic people that say, let's fight. But then whenever it actually comes down to the fucking stamping the fucking flag on the ground, people are like, how about tomorrow?
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. It's interesting that you say that.
Can we do it when I can take my PTO?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny you say that. When I get asked all the time over my videos, well, what have you done? What have you done? Why don't you go do something? And I've done enough. I had my
Right.
business shut down. I had my bank account frozen. I was fired in January from a $160,000 a year job for my political content online. I've done more than the average man out there. I've lost more
Mhm.
than the average man out there. Other than one short step of going to jail, I've done a lot more than a lot of these fake riots is what I call them. They're fake patriots. They like to sit there in comment sections. They like to sit there and talk about, we need to do this. We need to rise up. But when brass tacks comes along, they fucking run. And the thing is what happened to country first, right? And I've given enough, and you're absolutely right. I've given enough, and I'm waiting for the next guy to show me if he's got any fucking balls. And what I've seen so far is we are now in a society where you're absolutely right, Liberty. There's nothing wrong with looking after your family, and that's why you're a big proponent of self sustainability, right?
I
and
am.
and and you actually got me onto that, and that's why I'm all about building community, finding your people, because the government, no matter what color represents your White House or my parliament or whoever else's government, don't give two fucks
They
about
don't.
you, about me, about your children, about the future. It's all about money. It's all about corruption. It's all about you will own nothing and be happy. And if we can just build community where we can own something collectively with like minded individuals, things might be a little bit better off, right? They're patriots, or we can just watch them run and hide, because that's what the government is counting on, right? They're counting
Yeah.
on, we have people who will actually do something and stand up for something. We saw that on January 6th. We saw that
Hmm.
with the Freedom Convoy. And then we have other people who want to chastise and say, I would have done this different. I would have done that different. I would have done this different at January 6th and this different at the Freedom Convoy. And all you ask any one of those fucks, they weren't there. It's very easy to say that you would do something unless you're in the heat of battle. I watched my government put national police on me and pepper spray me and baton me and freeze my bank account because I was standing up for the rights of truck drivers. That's what
Yeah.
happened. I
Right.
went through it. And a lot of people like to say, oh, well, I would have done it differently. Or I would. What would you have done different? What do you do differently when your government does that?
Well, that's just it. Is he didn't do anything they didn't do anything differently. What they did differently is they didn't do anything at all.
Exactly.
And we've I've said this and I've had the conversation with other people. The reason we can't do anything now is because we don't have the ability to provide for our family when we're not here. The only reason the Civil War, and of course I speak American, right? I talk about American things that happen. But the the uh, the reason during the Civil War they could leave their homes and go fight for something is because they had farms. They had the things that were necessary for them to be able to provide for their families while they weren't there, and their families were still working the farm and growing the food and butchering the cows and the pigs and everything needed when they disappeared.
Yep.
We don't have that now. We're so
No.
dependent on the fucking grocery store and the fucking Walgreens around the corner. We don't take care of ourselves, and
You
and
just
that is the
explained
big problem.
you just explained slavery, right? I like to bring this up all the time. You probably heard me say this. And your listeners, the black ones, you ain't gonna like this, but whatever. The thing is they explained to us slavery when we all grew up in school, right? We learned about it, the Underground Railroad and all that
Mhm.
other stuff, Rosa Parks, and we learned about all this stuff. And what happened to them was atrocious, right? We can say that that's fucking bullshit. But what happened to them wasn't the first time slaves were ever used on Earth. And
No,
the other thing is white slavery was huge in the Middle East. And the other thing after that is the black people were selling black people to white people in America, but they want reparations,
100%.
right? So we understand slavery as that, what they taught us. But that's what they want you to do, indoctrinate you in school and let you think, oh, slavery is black people being sold to white people, right? That's what the average American, average Canadian thinks. You're a fucking slave. I'm a fucking slave. If you go
Well,
to work and you can't fight for your country because you're too busy feeding your family, you're a fucking slave.
it's
It's that
slavery.
simple.
It's modern day slavery for sure.
Yep.
We are a slave to the system right now.
And they don't
And
want us to equate it to black people being sold to white people, because that's what actual slavery is.
yeah, yeah, and what's funny is we can get into it as the the metropolitan areas, when you get into the predominantly black neighborhoods, those guys are more enslaved into the system than any other race. Because look at the Asians. The Asians move into our countries, they build their own businesses, and they fucking stay to themselves. Yes, do they still pay taxes? Do they still pay all of these other things? But they're making more money so that they can provide for their family and then just paying the little bit of taxes that they have. And they are still enslaved into the system, but they're working it, and they're not fucking bitching that they were enslaved in our country to build the fucking railroads.
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
You know,
And we're building the economy. They're doing
Right.
it off the backs of us, right?
Right.
And the last statistic I saw, Liberty, was if you look at the richest minority in the United States of America right now, it's Asians.
Asians. Yeah. And
That's right.
and did you know, we're going to kind of shift a little bit. DEI actually screwed the Asian population more than it did anything else. Because
Diversity, equality, and inclusion?
yes, because
No.
colleges, right? There were a bunch of Asians that weren't able to get into school because they didn't fit into the numbers that they needed. They were removing some Asians, weren't able to get in. They were forcing African Americans and then changing the test and doing a number so that they could get more African Americans into the school. So Asians were actually not able to go to school because of DEI.
Yeah, we've created this culture of if you're white, you're fucked. And if you're not white, you can fight for something. And that's literally what the culture has been created. That's why you see January 6th was called a racist uprising. The Freedom Convoy was called a racist uprising. What happened in France, you see what's happening over there with all the immigrants coming from the Middle East there through fucking boats and trains and stabbing people in public. If you talk out against that, it's fucking racism. Because what has happened is they've taken the word racism, they've labeled every single white person as that because they think that we have some sort of fucking privilege, which we don't. And they say, well, you know what? Your grandpa, your great grandpa was a racist, so you're racist. Well, if we use that same ideology, you guys ain't gonna like this. Or maybe not, you guys are your viewers. Well, your fucking great grandma was a slave, so why shouldn't you still be one? Right? And they don't fucking like that argument, but it's just fact and true.
Yeah, no, it really is. And getting people to understand that they're in slavery already, that we're born into it, right?
Yep.
As soon as you're born, you're given a social security card and a fucking birth certificate. And that birth certificate actually ties you to the government. The only people that have any kind of freedom, I don't really know if Canada has Amish, but the only people that aren't really tied to the government are Amish. But they still pay taxes, and people don't fucking understand that.
And they have a
pay
great
taxes.
community. They have a
do.
great
They have a-
community. I wouldn't be really into soaking. I think it would be really weird to like spoon a lady and put my pecker inside of her and just kind of like whisper in her ear. But they do have something going for them with
And then call your
when
cousin
COVID
over to jump on the bed.
Exactly. Right.
yeah.
But they have something going with them with COVID, right? With COVID, they had the lowest rate of COVID, I believe,
Yeah.
in the United States, North America. I'll call it North America.
Yeah. No, they
Because
did.
we have Amish too. Their economy is booming. They're rich as fuck. They have their own leadership. They have rules of law within their own church. And at the end of the day, they literally, they soak. So I guess I could deal with soaking. That sounds like a pretty good life.
So get everything else, you're going to be okay with soaking?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to try out their bread. I heard their bread's good. I've never had
Their
it.
bread is delicious, by the way.
Exactly. But Amish, if you look at, so we were talking about Mormons the other day in a live,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm the closest to Mormon without being Mormon. I don't drink, right? I smoke, but I believe in God. I have values, Christian values and beliefs. Like that's the thing is we talk about left and right, and you brought this up, that the left has no moral fabric left to it. Because they lie, they cheat, they steal, they do everything in their power to rob from the other side, and they promote that social credit system or income, basic income for people. They promote that. That's how they buy votes because they know their base is broke as fuck. So anybody sitting there that's like broke as fuck wants to sit at home and play video games all day. He says, "Oh, the government's giving me free money if I vote for them." those are the people that are going to vote for them. So now we have the decision of the government who gets put in power placed on lazy ass fucktards who literally have never worked a day in their life. This is what's wrong. It's the whole system, Liberty. It's the whole system is fucking, it's a disaster. We talked about the Constitution earlier. The Constitution is a piece of paper that you might as well wipe your ass with at this point, because nobody's upholding it. There's nobody. Citizens who didn't vote for this administration want it upheld, and citizens who did vote for this administration don't want it upheld. And when you steal elections, right?
Yep.
This is what happens. This is what you guys are on fast track to communism. And just because we've lived in socialism for long enough, I think you guys are gonna go socialist, communist, fascism, and you're already kind of Marxist right now. So you're gonna like go, and that's why so many people are confused, because it is socialism, fascism, Marxism, communism, all wrapped into one, and people are like, what the fuck's going on? Like it's crazy. Look at the illegal immigrants getting how much money. That's a form of socialism.
You know, I haven't confirmed it, but what you're talking about is illegal aliens getting money. There was a interview that I seen. It was a little TikTok short or whatever you want to call it. One of the girls was saying that they get $25,000 a month plus $5,000 a month food stamps. What the fuck?
Meanwhile, veterans, which you know what? There's lots of veterans that want to be on the streets. I understand that.
We could go down that. Homeless people, most of them want to be homeless. Most of
I was homeless.
veteran.
I was homeless by choice when I retired from the Army, and it was more so I wanted to basically spurn responsibility. I didn't want to have like, I didn't want to fucking mortgage and car payments and all that shit, because I was getting money. I had made some pretty decent financial decisions, and I really just wanted to travel around the country and do drugs. So I did that for a while. And homelessness, for most people, there are people who get put in situations where, you know, shit happens, like they lose their job and then they lose their house. But most of those people get out of homelessness really quickly. The people who have been in it for years and years and years, they want to fucking be there.
I was homeless. We moved back from California. We moved to California in late 08, early 09. And California fucking sucked. So we took every bit of money we had. We moved back to fucking Missouri, and we took that money to fucking move back. We moved in with my wife's grandmother. Grandmother got pissed off at us and fucking kicked us out. We were out of money, and we moved into a motel. And I worked at the motel doing maintenance, and my wife worked the front desk, and our fucking 5-year-old daughter was there with us. And we were only there 3 months. We saved money so that we could fucking get our own place. Like, because we didn't want to be homeless. Like, what the people that say that they can't fucking do it, the government's putting me here. Everybody else is no, get off your fucking ass, get a goddamn job, and make yourself not fucking homeless anymore. Like, the people that are homeless want to be there, or they just want to fucking push their responsibility, and they want to blame other people. They won't take self accountability.
No, they won't. They really won't. And I was going. You know, I was lifting the plane up. Like I came out.
Going.
My bird
Keep
was
going,
in
buddy.
the air, and then both you guys had made really good points there. And most of them do want to be homeless. But what I was talking about, what I was getting to is socialism, right?
Yeah.
And why I think, you know, social. So you got to remember, I'm against socialism to a certain extent, being Canadian, because I've seen my tax dollars go to waste. But we have people that come back from war. We have the same problems in our country, just at a lesser rate, because we only have 42 million people that are here, right? Mm-hmm. But they come back from war, and they're a buddy of mine, PTSD, right? Mm-hmm. Extreme PTSD, dropped by the Canadian government, served 3 tours in Afghanistan, dropped by the Canadian government. And that's happening everywhere. And now these people are going home, and they're beating their wives. They're fucking offing themselves at record rates. And that's where I think socialism comes to play, right? Proper socialism comes to play, where I think every American, every Canadian would have no problem with us investing in our veterans who come back from war, and they're hurt. They're hurt because the shit that they had to go through. Half of them don't even know why the fuck they were there. Half of them were just killing people because they were scared they were going to get killed. And at the end of the day, we should push that sort of socialism, not immigrants illegally coming into a country, us giving them $25,000 a month. Like, if people can't really, this is why I hate the fucking left. And hate is a strong word. I never used this word up until this whole border shit started happening and it spilled over into Canada. I didn't like hating people. I don't go around thinking that. I'm for immigration when it's done responsibly, but I hate the fucking left for actually propping this up and thinking it's a good idea to lessen your security, raise your taxes, and allow military veterans to off themselves at record rates. I fucking can't stand the fact that there's people out there that prop them up. And you know how they do it? They do it because they use little carrots. They steal from the middle class, and then they use that money they stole to buy the fucking poor people and say, hey, vote for us. And the poor people vote. I'm a huge proponent in a couple things, and you guys might disagree with this. If you don't pay taxes, and by pay taxes, I mean actually pay taxes. Like if you pay $10,000 a year in taxes, but you're gaining $15,000 in government benefit, that's not paying taxes. If you're like me who pays $67,500 a year in taxes, you get to vote. You get a vote. But if you're that fuck who doesn't pay taxes, you don't get one. You retire and you're now collecting more from the government through socialism than you do in your wage. You don't get to vote, because what that eliminates them going to the poor people who are uneducated usually, who are lazy usually, and have mental health issues usually, actually driving the economy, building business, paying $67,000 a year in income tax. They have to go to them and earn their vote. And people say, well, voting's for everybody. No, it's not. Because we just created this voting for everybody is now the fucking bottom feeders get the say, because their little carrots are dangled. And how is it paid for? People like you and I. That's how it's paid for. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's if you, and at least our system, I don't know how y'all's works. We pay
we're
our
fucked.
government, right? Our taxes come out of our check, right? And if you make under a certain amount, you get all of that money back. So all they're doing is they're using that money to fund their shit going now. We can go off on another tangent on who is actually in control of our government, and most likely yours as well. Is Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, right?
Yeah.
Those three investment firms are in control of most of the world. But I see what you're saying. I do, and I try to. What you're saying,
Liberty. This hope for their neighbor, hope for their family, hope things will get better. But as long as you give people who haven't earned it a say, which we've done in DEI, we've done in LGBTQ plus, we've done in our military, we've done in all aspects of government. If you give them a say who haven't earned it, you've just given your country away. And you've told the people who work hard that they're not important. And people wonder why there was a freedom convoy. People wonder why there was a January 6th. People wonder why we're fed up. And I live in Canada, like I said, where it's socialist, right?
Yeah.
So I understand where that word hope comes from. Because at one point in Canada, years and years ago, when my dad was my age paying taxes, he had the same thing. Hope.
Yeah.
It's not going to last forever. The next government's going to come into place. They're going to fix it. And here we are right now. We are literally talking about borders being opened, people offing themselves coming back from war with no support, opioid crisis on the rise, mental health amongst teens and suicide rates amongst teens at record rates. We were talking about immigrants coming in, getting off on killing people, citizens in your country and my country, and we're talking about censoring the media and putting political prisoners in prison, opponents in prison. We are literally living in fucking Nazi Germany, man. We
Yeah, no, no,
literally
no.
are
Yeah.
living in it, and people can't see it.
Absolutely. I'm going to try and hit a couple things you said there. I'm not going to hit them all. In my opinion, myself and Alvin, I think I'm pointing at Alvin now. I have had the conversation about veterans, right? As both of us are fucking wartime vets, served in either Iraq or Afghanistan. We think we just signed the fucking dotted line and did a job. We are not entitled to a fucking thing. We both believe that. And we just need, every veteran needs to get off their ass and fucking do something for themselves instead of relying on the government. And I see what you're saying when you say that the government should take care of us. Should, sure. But
You know why I say that, though? You know why I say that, though, right? I don't want to cut you off, but I can't legally serve my military because I have a disease called ankylosing spondylitis. I was told that I can't serve, right? I was going to serve. Thank fuck I didn't. And I'm not bashing vets, okay? I'm just saying the shit that I've seen these men go through. I would have joined up right after September 11th, and I would have ended up in Afghanistan, and I probably would have ended up like my buddy with PTSD getting thrown to the fucking curb, right? And the reason I say that is I'm not in your shoes.
I enlisted 2 weeks after 9/11. I was a sophomore in high school when it happened. I enlisted 2 weeks later, and I went to basic training in between my junior and senior year in high school.
Wow.
And 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I went to my first duty station and deployed 90 days later.
Yeah, and you know what? I love that. And I'm going to say something that I never say. You guys have probably never heard me say it. You probably hate people telling you this, but too fucking bad.
No, we agree.
Yeah, no.
I don't
we
put
agree.
people on pedestals.
Listen, I'm one of these. Listen, I knew exactly what I was doing, right?
Yes.
We were a country at war. I signed up to go to war. I knew what the fuck was going on. I wasn't confused. Granted, the reason why we went to war may have been a lie, but
Was
that's
a complete fucking lie. Yeah.
it's a totally different fucking conversation. I knew what I was signing up for. I knew my job is to kill for my country or possibly die.
That was my mission.
That was it.
Yeah.
Well,
But
we're not going into that conversation.
This is where I was going with that, though, right? I didn't go, right? I didn't do that. So as a regular citizen who watched his buddies go to war, I don't put anybody on pedestals, and you guys know that, right? I don't do that. I believe except myself, and I'm the most important person in the world.
Because my blue check makes me better.
Because my blue check on Clapper, motherfuckers.
Yeah, the blue check on Clapper makes him more important than anybody else.
Yeah,
he's got a blue check in a couple of places, actually.
Yeah, I do. But the thing is, you guys are heroes. Whether you don't like that term or not, you don't get to decide who I think is a hero, right?
Sure.
And the thing is I didn't go. I didn't go to war. I couldn't. But every single person, man and woman, who went and like you just said, kill people or be killed, in my eyes, that is a hero, right? But that's the problem we have, is you saw it after the Vietnam War when those soldiers came home. Our governments have this little fucking sneaky tool of lying to their soldiers and saying, this is why we're going, when it's not the truth. And then the soldiers come back and they don't do anything. If soldiers would come back from war, assemble, and say, hey, you guys are fucked. I watched 30 of my guys fucking die over there. 30 of them for your lies and bullshit. And you brought out the pitchforks, brought out the tar, the feathers, and you hung these fucks in the street. This shit wouldn't happen anymore. It wouldn't happen. But because I didn't go to war, I didn't see 15 people die, I didn't understand what was going on because nobody did unless you were there. That's why we really have to rely on veterans. And when we say our country's fallen, when I see veterans in both of our countries doing absolutely nothing, and people don't like when I say it because they're like, oh, fuck you, I'm doing something. What are you doing? Like this podcast, what are we doing?
The reality of it is the majority of them come home and sit in their fucking house and piss and moan about how shitty their fucking life is when they could get up off their fucking ass and make their life better.
Exactly. 100%.
Well, even if it is for this, as you've said before, we are entertainers. This podcast, we're entertainers.
Yep.
Are we doing it from our fucking house? Yes. But are there gonna be people that sit and fucking enjoy listening to us speak? Yes.
Yep.
We are doing something. But what you're talking about is people that just bitch and moan. And if you go on TikTok, Vet Toxic is over there, and you can fucking listen to them guys whine and bitch and moan that nobody is fucking doing anything for them, but they're not fucking doing anything for themselves.
No one's cupping my balls. Shut the fuck up, dude.
I've been
Jesus
over there.
Christ.
I was involved in Vet Toxic, and I tried to powder people's asses, but it doesn't fucking work because all they want is they want more. Give me fucking more. Do for your goddamn self. And this is where my thought of self-sustainable comes from. I am tired of being dependent on somebody else. And if I'm growing my own fucking food, the ports that are fixing to fucking shut down here in America from Maine to goddamn Texas will not affect me. I don't give a fuck about goddamn vehicle fucking chips or, parts or food or anything else coming in from somewhere else to determine my day-to-day life. But these guys, the vets that are fucking on TikTok whining to other fucking vets that the fucking VA isn't giving them what they're supposed to, and all they're talking about is fucking VA bureaucracy, that it's not fucking giving them what the fuck they want. Over there in Vet Toxic, and they're gonna fucking hate me for saying it. But y'all need to get off y'all's fucking ass and do for your goddamn self.
Quit being a whiny little fucking pussy.
Right. You're absolutely right. And I guess when I'm going to recant a statement that doesn't happen a lot, but
Oh my God! Hold on, everyone's admitting that Berta's wrong. Hold on, everyone, listen. This is good.
Yeah. I'm going to recant something. I said something a little while back that we're not. What are we doing? We're not doing anything, right? But we are doing something because my goal with my platforms, my show, my everything, even being on this podcast, is I want people to say exactly what you guys both just said. Get off your fucking ass and do something and help yourself. Because we do rely on the veteran community. And the veteran community, I've seen it in Canada too, spends more time fighting with each other, bickering how much the government's not paying socialism towards them,
100%.
and bitching about what's happening, in their life and why it's so bad, and they're not helping themselves. So I recant that statement, but I move further and I say this is a good time to plug the revolution that we said that would never happen. Because in order for us to have a revolution, we need to have veterans. It's that simple. And I've never once said to anybody that, if you let me know what you're planning or you're doing, that I won't be involved. I will always be involved. I'll use my platform to promote it. I'll show up. I'll do everything that I can to help anybody better their country. But we are at a point in time, we are at a crossroads where we are going to win or lose. And we right now in a tug of war race, that rope is far close to that line to go across. It is so close. And the minute that it goes across that line, we have lost everything. And we need more people on our side, because look what we're up against that's winning. You just have to sit there and ask yourself, what are we up against that is winning? Transgender people, mental illness, drug addicts, alcoholism, DEI, open borders, people that can't speak the language, people that don't understand the country. That's what we're fighting. We're fighting them and we're losing. How does that make sense? Well, easy. You mentioned it. Vet Toxic. They spend more time fighting amongst each other than coming up with solutions and letting bygones be bygones and moving forward. You see it in the freedom movement all the time. This guy said this about me, and that person said this guy's got more followers. This guy's making more money on his website than this. Shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Who cares? That's what they're planning. They've planned to put this bullshit in your life so you fight amongst each other because they know how powerful you are. That's how the gays are winning. That's how men who dress up like women and play pretend are winning. They're winning the fucking war.
Yes. If anybody watched, fuck, I can't remember the name of the movie. It was just recent. The Obamas were fucking part of it. Anyway, there was the fucking Teslas fucking driving themselves and causing wrecks, and was it called End of Days or some shit?
Let the world go.
Yes.
Say that again.
Let the world go. I think
That maybe that's
some shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They were dropping fucking pamphlets, right? They dropped pamphlets, and it was a fucking mind game. We do that in other fucking countries.
Yep.
So that we can divide the country and then come in and fucking conquer them.
Yep.
And then we fucking push in our ideology on what they should fucking do. And the thing is they have done it in our country. They have, just as Berta said, we are divided 15 different ways before we put our feet on the ground in the morning. And if we don't get past that, we're fucked. But it doesn't matter at this point. If you were to, I'm going to say this 100 times, if you grow your own fucking food and prepare your property, it doesn't matter how divided I am from the guy next door to me. It doesn't matter because, go ahead.
I think we're on the same page with the growing your own food and everything.
Sure.
It just, like I said before, I believe it needs to go one step further. Community. Because the thing is we're going to have to defend ourselves. So if you can find those like-minded people that you can live with, that you can grow, you can build community, you can have self-sustainability. But I don't believe self-sustainability works on your own.
No.
Communist.
Yeah, communist. I get called a
difference, I think, being my own property and everybody stay the fuck off of it. So my next door neighbor can grow his own fucking food and have his shit, and now we're like-minded. And then there's next door neighbor, then their next door neighbor, then their next door neighbor. Grow all your own shit, and we can trade.
Yeah. And you know what scares
So we are a community, but I am in my own fucking house on my own property. So
no, fuck you. I'm building a cult. I'm just going to build a cult. I'm going to have a bunch of fucking...
Well, technically, if you're a registered Democrat or a registered Republican, you've already joined one.
The military.
Or the military. Any organization that is...
As a Marine, right? I've got it tattooed on my fucking arm. I have joined a cult. When I was 18 years old, I joined a cult. And if anybody says otherwise, the Marine Corps is a fucking cult.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. The military is just one of the largest criminal gang organizations in the world. I don't care what anyone says.
And didn't the Hells Angels form exactly from what Berta was talking about earlier? Veterans coming home, wanting to have community.
Primarily from World War II. Hells Angels and the Outlaws both.
Right, yep. And they were just veterans that were getting with like-minded people, and then it fucking spiraled into it spiraled into a fucking a gang of fucking, yet again, people saying leave me the fuck alone, but they were still selling coke and fucking meth and all kinds of other shit. But they were doing exactly what you're talking about, and you've seen it in your fucking in the Freedom Convoy. Even the Hells Angels have that same problem, right? Yep. This person has more power than I do, but they don't understand what they have to do to get that power. They just want it handed to them.
Yeah, you just described leftists. You've literally described leftism to a T. They want what you have, but they do not want to give up what you gave up to get to it. And that's why these are the people with the voice. Like, as soon as we started giving the voice to the fucking weak, and I don't care, if you're disabled and you don't pay taxes to the government, and you collect those taxes, you are weaker than a person who goes out, earns a living. You are. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm just saying that a voice given should be given to the people who contribute. And unless you're contributing and money is where we contribute. You don't have a fucking say. You can't walk into half of the fucking Capitol buildings. You can walk in, but you ain't getting into a private meeting, a closed camera meeting. You're not doing it. So the say you have is with your vote. But when you give that vote to the people who stand to gain the most of the other side's money, okay, who's actually earning it, you've lost your country. And that's why the whole system's a sham. It's a fucking sham, because you got illegals coming in getting voter IDs when they shouldn't be getting them, and that's just a mistake. We'll rectify that after the election. Like, and it's fucking, it's a disaster. And self-sustainability, I'm all for it. I love it. I think it's amazing. Where I was going with that one was, what do governments do when something works so well and they can't control it? They make it illegal.
Legislate against it. Yeah.
Yeah, they make it illegal.
Yeah.
And that's literally where we're at. That's what will happen to self-sustainability. It's fucked.
Yeah, and that's why Berta needs to move to America, because what I've said is that from the state house, right? Because you can look it up. I ran for Missouri State representative. Once you get to that point in those offices, you become corrupt, and it doesn't do anything for the fucking constituents at that point.
No.
And it's the same in Canada. But what I'm saying is there's the 4 people in your local area that the elections matter. That's your sheriff, your prosecuting attorney, your district judge, and your coroner. And people don't understand why the coroner, and that's because in counties, the coroner can fire the sheriff. And the reason I say those other 3 is if your sheriff says, I'm not fucking enforcing an unconstitutional law, which happened in Illinois, by the way. Yep. I'm not enforcing an unconstitutional law, then you're covered. Now, if that sheriff decides to fucking to arrest you, and the prosecuting attorney says, I'm not prosecuting this unconstitutional law, then you're fucking covered. Now, if both of those say, hey, we're going to fucking take you to the edge of the goddamn cliff and push you off, and then your district judge says there is no merit here, it's unconstitutional, let that motherfucker out of jail, and he goes on his goddamn merry way, then you're covered. And then if the coroner says, hey, this sheriff's acting out of fucking line, he's fired.
Yep.
So those are the ones that matter in your local. Local, that's what matters. Because everything above that, they're all fucking 2 wings of the same fucking bird, and as my buddy says, and they're all shitting on us.
Yeah. And one side's cheering for one bird or the one wing, and the other side's cheering for the other wing.
That's exactly
right. We're all
right.
getting hit with the same fucking shit.
That's exactly right.
And that's the indoctrination and brainwashing. That's when you go to school, right? I ran for school president. Okay, I experienced fascism straight up as in my high school. I didn't even realize it until now, to be honest with you, until I started telling the story. I ran for school president in grade 12. That was the prerequisite. You had to be grade 12 to run for school president. So I ran, and I won. I won by a fucking landslide. And I was pulled into a room, and I was told, Lawrence, you can't be school president. You don't represent the school. You don't represent it in a good way. I was the guy always partying. I was the guy smoking darts in the smoke pit. I was late for school. But let's be honest, it was a popularity contest, right? I was a funny guy. I was that guy. I was likable. But that's what we do in our politics. We do that same thing in our politics.
Yep.
Look at all the people who are vetted and said that they can't be a politician. Look at me, for instance, businessman. I've lost businesses. I've made businesses. I've raised a family. I've overcome addiction. I've seen firsthand of what opioids do to me. I've seen firsthand what alcoholism does. I've dealt with my own mental health crisis. I was suicidal at one point. I think that's a pretty good resume for getting in a position to fix shit. If you can fix yourself, I think that's a pretty good resume. But what happens? You're not good enough. You don't represent the country good enough. So these are these vetting processes. This is how you end up with Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. This is how you end up with that. It's literally ridiculous. I want to see Joe the farmer right? I want to see Tina the pharmacist. Well, maybe not the pharmacist. Fuck pharmacist. But you know what I mean? I want to see like the line cook. I want to see people from the school of hard fucking knocks.
Yeah, but I've had somebody tell me this before. Every politician is rich. Okay, so be it. And they were like, well, we need to have a poor person and a rich person so that we're even. Okay, cool. You take a poor person, you put him in the fucking House or the Senate, and in the House you're making $115,000 a year, which I think they gave themselves a raise, so now it's 130 some thousand. Now that poor person is no longer poor. They are rich, and then they're going to be fucking corrupted into the exact same shit that's going on up there, because you've got Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street that are giving out money to say, vote for this bill, bring this in, do this. Now they're rich and they're corrupted. So they are no longer doing anything for us.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And this is why another plug for a revolution is there. There's so many reasons over all of this conversation why we can justify a revolution and the people taking their country back. But again, it's not happening because of the indoctrinated brainwash, the two wings of the same bird that's shitting on us with the same shit. It's not happening because, you know what? Half of your listeners, and I hate to say this, and half of my listeners, buddy, are just too fucking lazy.
I would say 85%. 85%. Because when we do the numbers, somebody's always said 3% of the population is what it takes to take the country back. Okay. We have 335 million people in our country. 3% of that would be 10.2, 10.3 million people. The logistics that it would take for 10.5 million people to actually do anything is fucking crazy. When we've looked at it, the number of people at one time that was in Iraq and Afghanistan was like 300,000 people. Right? And the logistics for the government to actually feed and fucking move any of those people at one time, they can't even figure it out.
Yeah.
And they have the money and the fucking resources to make it happen. We had one guy say, oh, we need to take 3 million people to the border. Perfect. Do that. You're the whole fucking border. So now you've got to talk to every fucking county sheriff, got to talk to every municipality. Where are all of these people going to sleep? You have to talk to every single fucking farm. What are all of these people going to eat? Where are all these people going to shit? I was just recently a trash man. Where the fuck is all the trash from all of these people going to go? Now you've got to talk to every single fucking landfill, every trash company. They all have to shit somewhere. Now you're going to have porta shitters everywhere. Who's going to pay for all of that? The logistics behind a revolution is never going to happen. And the reason for that is because people can't fucking dig a hole and shit in the fucking ground. Because they're not self-sustainable. This is the things that during the fucking Civil War that it was day-to-day life. We are so stuck in a fucking convenience. Everything is so convenient that nobody knows how to, even veterans, the most of them don't know what it's like to dig a hole in the fucking desert and shit in it.
Exactly.
So it's a fucking inconvenience that nobody wants to fucking have. And no matter how bad you say you want to do it, whenever it comes down to it, people are going to go, I'm sick of this. I'm going home. I'm going to go see my kids.
Absolutely.
So,
I got a really interesting thought while you were saying all that stuff.
Go for it.
Why do we have elections? Why do we have them? What's the purpose?
You're muted.
It's the illusion of choice.
Illusion of choice, right? So this is the thing, right? So a lot of times I'll ask a question like that, and that's a good answer because we're like-minded individuals. I just don't do LSD or eat mushrooms
anymore.
Anymore.
It helps with the PTSD.
I live vicariously through
why I
helping.
do it.
I live vicariously through helping.
Me too.
But the thing is we have them because that's the option that's been laid out in front of us, right?
Yep.
That's what the option is. And every single time that I ask a question like that, I get, well, it's the fairest way. It's how we do it. So my rebuttal to that is simple. What have elections done for us? This podcast wouldn't exist. My content wouldn't exist if elections worked so well.
It's true. That is true.
right? I would not have a platform. I would not have a podcast. You wouldn't have a platform or a podcast. Same with you,
Right.
Elvin. Three of us would be fucking probably pretty well off though, because we have the drive to do it. Because in a fair market economy, you know, the people who put the effort and the work in, the rewards, right? We've switched
Yep.
the economy to, again, like I said, the fucking voiceless became the voice, the weak became the strong, and the strong became the fucking lazy. And so if elections worked so fucking well, we wouldn't have this. So why do we have them? Why are we still doing the same system? And Elvin, you took the words right out of my mouth. You answered it. You fucking landed the plane before it even took off, like MH370. It's because of the illusion of choice. That's all it is. They've played us. You've been played since you came out of the fucking birth canal. You've been indoctrinated through high school, through college, university, through the military, through your job. This is why I'm an entrepreneur. This is why I finally, after losing my job in January because of my political content, decided I will never work for somebody else again in my life.
So
It's
you know
because
where
it is self-sustainability. It
you know
is
where-
I am self-sustaining at this point. I don't fucking eat if my company don't make money, and my company don't make money if I don't fucking do something.
So you know where the educational system they have in place now, you know who developed it, right?
Good old Rockefellers.
Rockefellers, Henry Ford, and a bunch
And-
of the powerful people of the time went to an island and talked about what their plans for the future were and how to become as rich as fucking possible while fucking everyone in the process. But it started with the educational system, and then it
Department of
started to
Education.
leak. Then it started to leak into the medical field, right?
Well,
Well,
look
that's
at
because
unions,
that's
Alvin.
because
They-
the
Look at
education
unions.
system is
they
the
s-
ones that fucking teach the medical field.
Well, yeah, they fucking infiltrated everything, and now they control everything from our food supply to the information that we're allowed to consume.
Mm-hmm.
They literally control everything.
We all
Yeah.
three of us live that every single day.
Every day.
Censorship, right?
Yep.
We all live it. I just looked at my Instagram analytics this afternoon. Okay, I was like, "Fuck, man! I grew to 70,000 real quick. What's going on with my account?" And I'm looking, and last week I had 8,000 people follow me in 1 week. You want to know how many unfollows I had? 11,000.
What?
11,000 people do not follow you. Unfollow. That's not. When's the last? How often do you unfollow somebody?
You forget.
Well, yeah, okay, so
Exactly.
kind of
So
off topic,
censorship.
but so there's this theory that like 80% of the internet is dead, right? It's the dead internet theory that
Yep.
80% of everything you see online is all bots and it's all fucking AI and none of it's fucking real.
Yep.
Right. And a lot of the platforms are actually starting to try to remove some of the bots and the fake accounts and the AI and all that shit, while other platforms are
Giving
fucking
people like me blue checks.
yeah, pedal to the fucking floor, going all in on the AI and the bots. Because even if you look like, so I saw this video on YouTube the other day where this guy, like, there was a video posted of a guy that didn't exist. It was an AI guy, but he had a profile that went back like 15 fucking years. But all of the content on it was fake. None of it was real. And it was all done within the last like 3 months. And the CIA has a really advanced AI program that it, like if we were live right now, they would be in the comments. They would be able to hear what we're saying, make the comments, but it could also put fake information on the internet and alter it super fast based on the conversation that we're having.
Well, what you just talked about is exactly how they're going to come after us next. And it's one thing that scares the living shit out of me is you can very easily upload child porn to anybody's laptop, right? This is why
Yeah.
I go and I get I get a criminal record check every single month from the RCMP in Canada. So if anybody ever comes to me, if something ever shows up on my record at one point, I'm going to say, there you go. I have a clear record through all my addiction, through all of that. I just didn't get caught fucking doing what I was doing. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I have a clean record and always have had a clean record. And I've never hit a woman. I've never hit a child. I've never done any of that shit. I'm a straight white Christian male, and I have values, morals, and beliefs. And I try to say that as much as possible, because there'll be screenshots to go against what they're going to put out there when I get too big and they want to silence me. And that's what they'll do. They'll use AI. They'll take my snippet, like you see on the screen right now, and they'll move my lips to make it sound like I'm supporting Kamala Harris, or I support child porn, or that I support fucking human trafficking. They will do all of that stuff to silence us. You've seen it with Kamala Harris and her AI generated crowds. Look at Trump. Those aren't AI generated. I know people who go to Trump. They follow Trump around the fucking country. They're large content creators. I see them. I've talked to them on FaceTime on the phone. I see the fucking crowds. They're not AI generated, but Kamala Harris, just none of their people go FaceTime with people. You know, they're at the crowd because there is no crowd. This is the thing, is when BlackRock, Vanguard, and the elites are running the show. This is how Jeffrey Epstein can do what he's doing. This is why there's so many people on the Epstein list and not one thing has happened to them. This is why in my country that there was political interference and foreign interference, and any Canadian out there or anybody, go look that up. Canada said, oh, it'd be against national security to say what members of parliament, actual elected officials, were part of foreign interference. This is not a conservative. This is not a liberal thing. This is they hate us. We've allowed them to get to this point. Elections don't work. What are we going to do about it? And this is important to sit here and have conversations like this, because this podcast can flop on its ass, or this podcast can end up at 3 million people. The goal of every show I do is it ends up on Candace Owens' fucking desk, and she shares it. I don't care. I don't care if it lands on fucking some huge liberal content creator's desk and they share it. I don't give a fuck. My biggest supporters are my haters, because they're the ones. Somebody likes what we're saying. Very rare do you go through comment sections of videos. It's easy to watch. Very rare will you get somebody say, "Oh man, agree with everything you're saying." It happens. It happens to me. But you get a lot of "fuck you, you white nationalist."
Well,
fuck
in the
you,
beginning,
you white supremacist.
Right?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm kind of the beginning stages on TikTok. Whenever I post something, only my followers are fucking seeing it. It's not getting pushed
censorship.
out.
Censorship.
Right.
That's
everybody that says something is like, well, yeah, I see what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. Good job. So then I got to fucking
see. That's when you got to get you some friends with some fake accounts that get on and argue with you to light the dumpster fire, so you can walk away from it and just let it blow up.
Well, I've got.
That's what I do, Elvin. I go in and I'll literally start shit in the comment section, and then I'll walk away. And because I understand how
that he's got on his fucking.
Yeah, I understand how videos go viral, right? And at the end of the day, it's my haters. My haters sell the most hats. My haters sell the most T-shirts. The haters is why I make money on Spotify. I can't make money on Apple because they've told me. Yeah, well, when they took my podcast, they said, "BertaProudDad, we'll give it back to you, but you'll never be able to monetize over here."
Well, this is why Alvin.
That's why you monetize yourself. Right? You build businesses on the back end. That way, they can never take it away from you.
Exactly.
They can freeze your bank accounts and seize your money, but you can always.
Which has happened to Berta.
It's happened to me.
Isn't that illegal though? In Canada?
No, that's why they tried labeling me domestic terrorist, right? So if I'm a domestic terrorist, they can do it. Now people are like, why don't you take them to court? Good luck taking your government to court. But
just like in America, right? If we're fucking deemed domestic terrorists, just like J6, those guys were deemed domestic terrorists. They're thrown in Guantanamo Bay, and they're not entitled to a fucking trial.
Yep.
Because they are terrorists.
Yep. It's
they
fucking sad, man.
They don't have to follow the Constitution anymore once you're deemed a domestic terrorist.
No,
they can do and say whatever they want at that point.
Not at all. Well, let's land the plane here, because
drag them in, and they'll follow you until the day you die. I tell myself I've dealt this before. It's hard to get a handle on you walking out the door. So just take another message to the people who know. The talk is grown.